Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, picture this. You just walked out of a movie theater. You look at your friends and you're all thinking, what was that actually about? Well, today we're going to completely transform how you watch movies. We're equipping you with a solid, concrete framework to help you identify and evaluate a film's underlying theme. Basically, consider this your masterclass in film analysis.
Let's jump right in with a quote from the absolute legend, director Sidney Lumet. He really established the absolute highest of stakes for what we're talking about today. A film's central focus isn't just some afterthought they slap on in post-production. It's the literal blueprint. It dictates absolutely everything you see and hear on that screen. It decides the cast, the musical score, the editing, literally the whole shebang.
So here is our game plan for today. We're going to define what a cinematic theme actually is, look at the 5 thematic elements, do a deep dive into films focused on ideas, and wrap up by figuring out how to spot and evaluate these themes out in the wild. Let's do it. All right, Section 1, defining the cinematic theme and why we really need to broaden that definition. You know, back in high school literature class, they always hammered into us that a theme is this super specific moral message or a profound statement by the author, right? Well, scratch that for movies. In film analysis, that definition is just way too narrow. A cinematic theme has a much, much broader focus. It's really the unifying central concern of the whole work. The theme of a movie doesn't even necessarily have to be a specific idea at all.
Which brings us to Section 2, the 5 thematic elements. Let's take a look at what actually glues a movie together.
Okay, think of this like a menu of cinematic focuses. Literally every movie you've ever seen has all 5 of these elements, but one of them is always running the show. Like, if it's a fast-paced, escape-focused heavily on events, bam, the focus is plot. Think Gladiator or Spider-Man. If it's all about trapping you in a single feeling, that's mood, like the total creeping dread you feel watching The Shining. Then you've got character, which zeroes in on delineating a unique personality, like the biopic Ray. Style is when the sheer look and rhythm of the movie is the experience itself. Memento is a perfect example. And finally, ideas, which try to clarify some aspect of the human condition, like you see in Crash.
Moving on to Section 3, a deep dive into ideas. Specifically, we're looking at the 7 categories of ideas. Now sure, massive summer blockbusters usually lean heavily on plot just to give us a fun ride. But most series films, they are almost always zeroed in on ideas that carry a weight far beyond the walls of the movie theater. And if a filmmaker is trying to make a statement about the human condition, it usually falls into one of these 7 distinct buckets. They might be exposing social problems, unpacking the truth of human nature, or just dropping a massive moral riddle in your lap that leaves you wondering, wait, what was that all about?
Let's actually zoom in on just one of these for a second, the struggle for human dignity. This is all about that classic basic conflict, giving in to our worst animal weaknesses, like cowardice, versus finding the guts to show courage against insane odds. The characters here are almost always dealt a terrible hand. Think about Marlon Brando in On the Waterfront. He's leading a rebellion, yeah, but his real fight is for self-respect. Remember that iconic line? I could have been a contender. Whether they actually achieve victory or not, it's that raw struggle itself that totally commands our respect.
So looking at all these heavy conceptual categories, it begs a pretty practical question. When the credits finally roll and the lights come up, how do we actually identify the theme? How do we figure out what we just watched?
Let's figure that out in Section 4, identifying a film's theme and finding its focus.
Here's the secret. The theme usually isn't going to hit you like a ton of bricks right in the middle of the movie. It reveals itself later, very naturally, in a few simple steps. First, just try describing the movie to a friend who hasn't seen it. Next, as you're talking, notice what you're hyping up the most. Are you ranting about the crazy plot twists, the terrifying vibe, a specific character's quirks? Whatever left the biggest impression on you, that is almost certainly the primary focus. From there, you just have to separate that one unifying central concern from the secondary motifs, which are really just the smaller, repeating patterns that support the main event.
And once you've successfully nailed down the theme, there's just one thing left to do. Section 5, evaluating thematic impact. Time to make a value judgment. This all comes down to a really crucial metric called universality. Take movies like Wild in the Streets or Easy Rider. Both of these are absolute textbook examples of themes that are limited in time and place. They went all in on super specific 1960s issues like the generation gap, and because of that they hit like a freight train when they were first released. But today, honestly, because their thematic focus was so tightly glued to that one specific era, watching them now can leave modern viewers feeling like the film is, well, pretty dated.
Now, contrast that with a masterpiece like Casablanca. I mean, the specific problems forced onto Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman's characters by World War II, long gone. But Casablanca endures perfectly today, far beyond its historical setting. Why? Because it's built on completely universal themes of courage, responsibility, and doing the right thing. These are themes of lasting interest that appeal to humanity across absolutely all ages.
So, next time you are evaluating a theme, run it through this quick checklist. Ask yourself, is this movie's basic appeal to my intellect, my funny bone, or my moral compass? Is the theme completely universal, or is it stuck in its own time and place? And maybe the most important one, if the director is trying to make a significant statement, is it actually thought-provoking and intellectually interesting, or is it just super obvious and boring? A truly great film should always challenge you.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative question to bring to your next movie night. Ask yourself, does the film you just watched actually have the potential to become a classic? Will people still be watching it 20 years from today? By learning to identify a film's core focus, you're basically unlocking a cheat code for appreciating how art is really made. Thanks so much for joining me, and here's to making your next cinematic experience the most engaging one yet.